more tariffs on this sector. How are you calculating that?
Well, we are calculating on the basis of to what the commodity price move and to what extent the sales price and what's the scenario, what's the positive case.
And so far, it's actually a positive.
At the moment, on the neutral, or neutral, slightly positive.
What about exposure to China?
Our activity in China is very minimal at the moment. In terms of direct activity and operation in China, so far is very minimal. But as a trading house, because we do natural resources investment, macroeconomic situation in China is very important sort of implication, and I hope China economy would be stabilized and prosper going forward.
If the environment improves from here, would you care to expand your business in China? Why has it been so small compared to other sectors?
Well, I guess naturally there are no specific reasons why we're not that big, but I guess key for us to be able to do business in China is essential demands, and so long as we are actually able to capture daily food, for example, or essential demand of China, I think it's nice for us to be able to do a business in China. And we have been doing a pharmaceutical distribution business in China, again capturing.
Wait, that sector is also threatened by tariffs right now.
Well, but it's in China. It's in China, and domestically in China, and the relationship between Japan and China, because we're capturing essential demand, I guess this business would be okay.
What about the fact that, as you say, there's a relationship with Japan, right, where you're headquartered, and at the moment we are seeing fluctuations in the Japanese yen. How impactful is that?
So first and foremost, the each yen depreciation would a little bit boost our bottom income. Something like 1 yen equates to 1.6 billion Japanese yen. But over the long run, mid to long run, I guess because we deploy so much capital to invest in terms of Japanese yen, we hope to see us more stronger sort of Japanese yen going forward. But 1.6 billion per yen is pretty much impact for this year.
Now, Warren Buffett seems to continue to really like Japanese trading houses, including Marubeni. What sort of conversations of engagements do you have with Berkshire Hathaway, or how do you hope to engage in the future?
We welcome investment from long-term investment from Berkshire Hathaway, and we also wanted to make sure that we would create value not only Berkshire but across all of the shareholders. But I guess with respect to our dialogue with Berkshire, we see a good alignment in philosophy of creating long-term value, and as such, we are learning a lot from our conversation with Berkshire, and we hope to be able to have a good collaboration with them in the future.
Masayuki, really good to have you with us here in the Tokyo studio. He's, of course, CEO of Marubeni, Masayuki Omoto, here with us. And, of course, we're talking about Warren Buffett's investment, and he recently revealed what inspired his lucrative bets on Japan's trading houses, such as Marubeni. Bloomberg opinion columnist Garode Vidi says the secret has been hiding in plain sight all along. Garode joins us now. So what exactly is that, Garode?
Yeah, it was a little bit overshadowed, obviously, by the larger announcement that Buffett had that he would be stepping down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway at the AGM recently. But it was the first time that we saw Buffett really reveal some of his thoughts on investing in Japanese companies, and it was surprisingly simple. It's a little book known as the Shikiho, or in English it's called the Japan Company Handbook. Which is basically it's about the size of a dictionary, a thick dictionary. Comes out every quarter. It has all kinds of facts and figures. But basically, the lesson here is that Warren Buffett, perhaps the most famous investor in the world, is really investing in picking his companies in the same way as your average Japanese retail investor would be. He was just going through companies in this book, looking for companies that were undervalued, and came across these 5 trading houses, and then started to invest in them. And he actually had in his remarks a long time at the AGM. He also revealed a lot of kind of insights, I thought, into investing in Japan. It was for me, it was the first time that he had spoken at length about his thoughts on investing in Japan. He hadn't really to date had much to say about it, but I thought this was one of the more revealing conversations that he had had about Japan at the AGM just a couple of days ago.
What's interesting, obviously, a lot of foreign long complaint about Japanese market progress and governance reforms take too long, right? And it's kind of the opposite in terms of just how much patience is being preached here.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the big takeaways from what Buffett had to say was that, it is, it's a different market. Pace change is going to be longer here. If you come in expecting, maybe as a lot of investors did, let's say at the start of Abenomics over 10 years ago now, they expected reforms to take place overnight. And that's just not necessarily the way it works here. And I think Buffett was quite clear that he understood that. He spoke that they had plans to hold on to their investments in the 5 trading houses for 50 or 100 years. They had no plans to sell it. And, I'm not saying that is the kind of time window that you necessarily require to invest in Japan, but I think investors do need to recognize that it
as smoothly as possible over the next 90 days. We are seeing that upside when it comes to crude, although it is a pretty steady market at the moment. We had 3 days of advances, so perhaps a lot of the good news has already been baked in, but also some of that attention really moving from trade de-escalation to what's going on in the Middle East as well, the progress when it comes to talks between the US and Iran. Gold looking pretty muted there, and iron ore still seeing quite a bit of downside on these China demand concerns. Well, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says reciprocal tariffs on China should not go below 10% or above 4% set by Trump on his so-called Liberation Day. He also told us more about Washington's broader strategy when it comes to trade with China.
Neither side wants a generalized decoupling. The U.S. is going to do a strategic decoupling in terms of the items that we discovered during COVID were of national security interest, whether it's semiconductors, medicine, steel. So we still have generalized tariffs on some of those, but both sides agreed we do not want a generalized decoupling.
These things take time, as you know, sir. We've got 90 days now to work with. Last time around, it took 18 months to reach an agreement on purchase agreements. I think you yourself have said in the past that it can take 2 to 3 years to have a full, comprehensive trade agreement with the country between the US and China. What do you think is achievable, sir, over the next 90 days?
Well, Jonathan, we're going to see, but what has to happen is it has to be fair for the American people. But in January 2020, President Trump produced a template. We had an excellent trade agreement with China, and the Biden administration chose not to enforce it. The Chinese delegation basically told us that once President Biden came into office, they just ignored their obligations. So, we already have a large framework. The other thing to remember here, Jonathan, is that this is a pause down to 10%. The April 2nd level for China is 34%. So we will be working to see where their final reciprocal number ends up. And the negotiations are a combination of tariffs, non-tariff trade barriers, currency manipulation, and subsidies of labor and capital.
Just to build on that, as I listen to you, do you consider the new levels as a ceiling or a floor?
Well, it's obviously a floor that they are now with everyone else who did not retaliate. So the levels have come down to the pause level. And what I would say is 34, which is their assigned April 2nd level, would be a ceiling, which is when I went out and told people on April 2nd, which is why I was surprised market participants panicked, because we had capped the upside for every country, and if they didn't retaliate. So this unfortunate turn of events happened because of retaliation, but now we have a process in place to avoid